Punch through.
Punch through.
Yeah, it's like when you want to do it.
Punch through.
Don't, yeah. When you want to do it, it's like, don't go into it like halfway. Don't be like, okay, we're going to adopt, but stuff might happen. And stuff's going to happen. It's just like, okay, we're going to adopt and go through.
With Liam, we bought a book, Secrets of Adoptive Parenting.
Of successful adoptive parents,
successful. And we never read it. And with her, we started reading it.
Yeah,
read books.
Yeah, because when we were in it with Liam, we were like, and then we saw the book, and before Lira, we worked through the book. We were like, no, let's get this. But we talked to a lot of people. We got a lot of advice. It's like the counsel you keep is very important. Yeah,
yes.
And knowing which
Don't
your council members is. If you're adopting multiracial, then don't listen to people with racial issues. It's like it's going to make it so difficult for you to do that. It's like,
you know, in your heart,
even if it's mother or father, don't put them on your council. No. Tell them, sorry, we need this break for now. We excommunicating you for a while because we need to keep this strong so that we can get these children.
Group,
the counsel you have is important.
Yeah.
Jy kyk op hulle jou hande praat van clean, you know. Papa gaan vir jou storie aansit, hoor. Gaan was net eers jou hande, okay?
Yeah. And we were and the story. Good. My rainbow baby. So she is Lira Yamigle. Her mom gave her that name. Breitenbach. Everybody's like, hey, they all laugh when they hear that because it's like rainbow.
Yeah, Breitenbach.
And Khoza.
Hey. Okay, you want to start?
No, you start.
So I'm actually Dick Jacobus Breitenbach, which is, well, Breitenbach is a old Germanic surname, which means people of broad stature. So that was kind of our surname. My father is also Dick Jacobus Breitenbach, and my opa was also Dick Jacobus Breitenbach. It was originally Dirk Jacobus Breitenbach, but when they moved to the Happy Clappy Church, which was English, mostly English churches those times, they misspelled the R and made a C, so when it went from Dirk to Dick, so then we became Dick Jacobus Breitenbach. Even on our marriage certificate, it's like my father signed Dick Jacobus Breitenbach. And
oops.
What did he do now? Silly dog. And my grandfather signed Dick Jacobus, and I'm Dick Jacobus Breitenbach. Yeah. But my father's nickname is Billy, and they also called me Billy, so nobody really knew me as Dick.
Yeah.
When I was at school, they know me like Billy. And then when it was award ceremonies, then they would say, Dick Jacobus Breitenbach. And they say, everybody, who's Dick? And then I would be the joke for the next month, you know. So, names.
And I am Gerna Breitenbach. Gerna means manhaftige strijder, manly fighter. And I believe that is the old me. So I changed my name, not legally, but most people know me as Gigi Breitenbach. And it's actually the Hebrew for Gimmel Gimmel or Gaga. But if I say I'm Gaga, then people think I'm a Lady Gaga freak. So it turned into Gigi, especially for people that don't speak Afrikaans. It's difficult to say Gerna Breitenbach. So Gigi just became easy. And Gigi means, or Gaga means, to go out and do. A doer, and I believe that is who I am. So and every time you speak your name or somebody speaks that over you. So I'm from Hogsback, the most beautiful little village in South Africa. Okay. I was born and grew up in Dallarayville. Dallarray, that town. And I went to school there, mom and dad. My dad was one of the biggest dairy farmers in South Africa. So real farm life. And I've got a sister who is 2.5 years younger than me. And that's it. We're only the two sisters. And then I went to high school in Swaziland, and that's where we met. But
Not boyfriend, mate.
no, we weren't together then,
class,
but we weren't even friends. But and high school, and then after that, I went to study education in Potchefstroom at Pikke, and then we reunited in our third year. In my third year studying education, and we got engaged, and in my fourth year we got engaged, and then after I studied, I moved to Bloemfontein when we got married, and then we moved to Hogsback 2 years ago.
Yeah, we were in Bloemfontein for 12 years.
Was it, 13.
Well, I was 12.
13,
Yeah, I come from Vanderbijlpark, Gauteng, Valdriehoek, So we grew up there. I was in Frikkie Meyer Laerskool there. And when I finished primary school and went to high school, my parents moved to the farm in Swaziland to farm with my grandfather there. So in high school, I was in Swaziland High School. That's where we met. We were in the same class together, but
I was the rebel.
She was the rebel uncle, and above
and he was the nerd.
my self-image grade. I was the nerd, so I was just trying to get out of high school. That was my goal.
And I enjoyed it too much.
Then I applied to study medicine in Pretoria, but I didn't get it, so I did like a bridge year when I was in Pretoria, and then I got heard of clinical technology, and I got accepted in Bloemfontein, so then I moved to Bloemfontein to study at Central University of Technology, CUT, and then I finished graduation there. Over varsity time we met, intervarsities, we used to care together, and that turned into a wonderful relationship. But then after studying, I was a year in the academic hospital that I worked there, and then I got a offer to go to private practice, so then I moved private practice, and then that swallowed in 12 years of my life. And that built the base for us to move to Hogsback. So now currently we're in Hogsback.
Okay, I'll start. So I don't really have a relationship with my mom, not a mom-daughter relationship. I can't remember anything from my childhood before 15. So I've tried hypnosis, I've tried everything to get back that. I know I've experienced trauma as a child, I don't know what. So I've never had a relationship with my mom. She has a good relationship with my sister, very, very good. My dad, he's a big, massive guy. So he was like my teddy bear, and he was always the gentle one. And he would comfort you, My mom wore the pants in the house. She's a boeretannie. She's, go-getter. She's a principal, very strong personality.
Veervoet.
Veervoet, very busy.
In public places,
she runs.
It's like the family is following.
And my dad, he's a farmer. He doesn't wear shoes. We had to make him wear shoes that are wearing and a belt. So he doesn't wear long pants. He says when it's cold he wears 2 short pants. And he's my big teddy bear.
He's a real boer.
A memory I have of him, and my favorite childhood memory is watching TV with a bag of oranges, which he would peel, and me lying on this massive stomach while I'm watching as a pillow, watching movies, with my dad. So that I can remember. And what more can I say?
Good relationship.
Yes, we did have a good relationship until he gave his heart to the Lord. So then his wife, my mom, became important, which is the right way. You first the wife, then the children. But I did not have protection after that. So there was no comfort after the trauma, after the screaming, after my mom So he's a very good person. He loves people. So he puts people first before everything. He helps a lot. Yeah. After the farm attack, that also changed a lot. Our relationship got so close because the farm attack happened in 2016, the 5th of December. And it's gruesome details, so if you want to cut this out, it's okay. They cut his throat 3 times. They stabbed him 39 times. They hit him with pangas and bricks and stuff. 5 guys waited him in at our home. And then for a few weeks, I stayed with him in hospital because I couldn't leave him. And we got very, very close. In his trauma session with the trauma doctor, I had to sit through it with him for 3 hours. When they took out the hundreds of stitches out of him, I sat with him. So that trauma we experienced together. But then, since then I have no relationship with my parents. I haven't spoken to them in 2 years. I don't judge him for not understanding why we choose the life we choose. But the relationship it's not there anymore. And I don't think there will ever be one again. And it's okay, I love them. They stay my parents. And the differences are there. And it's okay. We're happy where we are. So we don't do family really well. 1,000 kilometers are almost too close for us.
We need like a 3-month recovery period after a family visit. It's like
the family takes everything out of us because we are so different. It's always the question, but why are you like that? Why?
Yeah.
And our main thing is...
she likes rebelling, especially if she knows something's wrong and everybody enforces the wrong.
Yeah.
So like a rebel for the
I will
truth.
not keep quiet.
Then she will poke there.
Yeah, so...
And,
my parents' relationship and even my sister after the farm attack, nothing has been the same. Because firstly it was the farm attack, so racism came in again. And then adopting Liam, who is multiracial. I was not allowed to call him multiracial. He was white. So
and we weren't sometimes even allowed to say he's adopted.
Yes. So the relationship is not good. But it's okay. I've got him. And your mom and dad?
My mom was amazing. My father worked a lot. So initially he was in the army, so when I was born he wasn't there a lot. He was like, I have a lot of daddy issues that I had to work through.
He doesn't change
over performance issues.
Yeah.
So when my dad was there, most of the that's how it felt for me. Most of the stuff, it was never good enough. It's like when I got 95%, he was like, why don't you get 100, So he wasn't there a lot, and when he was there, the bar was set very high, so you had to go for that. But my mother was a big part of my life. She was there most of the times. I had asthma as a child, so I was
too involved.
in and out of hospitals, too involved.
Too involved.
I was in and out of hospitals a lot, so she was there with me the whole time, and my father worked, so he wasn't there a lot. And when we moved my mother and them wanted to move to the farm so there we could have a more basic lifestyle, which is more involved with the children. But then farming just took that over, and a lot of debt and
family business.
Businesses, and I was in high school, so by that time I was a teenager. I wasn't very interested in my dad. He started drinking a lot, so we would fight a lot, and we boxed so we could fight. So most of the times we started associating drinking with fighting. So when I was at varsity, that was like our drinking nights. It's like it has to end in some drama or fight, My mother didn't drink at all, and she was against all of the drinking and all of the bad stuff. So she always took our sides. I think she babied us a lot also. But I have a very good relationship with my mother. When I got married, that changed. Because my mother was not my wife. She was the woman in my life.
Yeah.
And I had to let go of that to give her space to be the woman in my life.
And that was
Because I was a
difficult
mama's
for his
boy.
mom.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
It's like even the mistakes, like later on when I came out and said, okay, I had a problem
made
with
mistakes,
pornography, my mother was like, she
denies
denies
it.
it. She's
Yeah.
not my boy.
No.
You know?
And his brother.
Well, she couldn't deny it when I made it public, but still it's difficult for her to handle that stuff because she was also molested by, I think, her grandfather. I don't know the full story. She doesn't like to talk about it, so it's never there to discuss. But she was very in love with us. She was very good with us. Even my grandmother, the other day, public speaking.
They have a very matriarchal family. All the
yes,
moms
we
are
have a
very
strong matriarchal system.
Yeah.
They run the houses. And
Yeah.
And when I started studying and I got out of the house, then me and my father's relationship just went down. So one evening he wanted me and my brother, my sister so it's me, my younger brother, middle brother, and then my youngest sister. And she had a boyfriend, and my father was drinking again, and it was fierce, and he was like, we have to beat that guy up. It's like he's not allowed to. And I told him, I'm not going to do that. And, but I'm a bad son, and, all of that stuff. And I climbed in the car, and I said, that's when I was in Pretoria. I'm going to Pretoria, and I'll send your car back to you. I'm done with this. Yeah. I'm finished with this. She's going to sleep now. Yeah, so that was a big turning point for us. And then he started working overseas a lot. I mean, my brother went along with him, and my brother was the middle child, so he ended up in heroin, almost killing himself. And he was in Iraq working with my dad there, and they caught him out with drugs there, and he was almost locked up there. So I rebelled, but I had my education that kept me on track. It's like my father and them didn't necessarily have the money for me to go and study, so I had to get a loan, but that's difficult getting. So my grandmother got me into university, and from there on it was just study to be the best. Then you get money back, then you get extra jobs, and that was kind of the goal how I got myself through university. It's just like work as hard as you can at it. So that's the good part of the relationship with my father, but you end up with I had a drinking problem. I had to stop drinking for long. I didn't know how to handle myself, and I was always blaming my dad for those issues, but now I'm an adult, can't blame him anymore. I have to handle it. So that was, and he worked overseas a lot, so I didn't really see him anymore. But both of us gave our hearts to Jesus, and things also changed a lot there. So we have a relationship now, but it's all right if it's at a distance. When they come here, it's intense handling that stuff, because I know him and he also knows me, and then you look at each other and you look at the problems you have, and you're like, yeah. But we're at a good spot now. We have a relationship. And my mother's alright. She's like a water off your back type of person. So when I come to her with emotional issues, she also keeps you at a distance. It's like she'll comfort you and tell you you're good and alright, but she doesn't want to get in there and handle some of the stuff. I think because she also has a lot of her own pain that she's handling. But that's kind of a relationship. Me and my brother's got a good relationship.
Very good.
He's a preacher now. My opa was also a preacher, so he's preaching now, and we don't see each other a lot. When we grew up together, we were just like boeties, When he was the smaller boetie, I used to bully him, and when he got bigger, he used to bully me with the words. So he's very smart, smart guy. And my sister, I don't see them a lot. I think we live totally different lives. They moved back to Vanderbijlpark, so the farm thing didn't work out with my grandfather, and that just went south. But it went south in a time when I was studying, so I can't remember much of it because I wasn't really part of it. It's like I knew I had to get out of that small town. That was my goal. It's like that place will eat you up. Yeah, that was your therapy, was kuiering Friday nights and Saturday nights and ending up in fights, and I lost a lot of friends because of that. We lost a lot of friends because of that, until recently even. But yeah, I lost my best friend when I was in varsity. He was in a car accident, drunk driving back from a kuierplek, drove into cows. His father died like that. And also a large part of us moving to Hogsback and making the changes we did, like Bloemfontein felt like a platform for me to get there. Just like a stepping stone. I needed to have Bloemfontein. The studying, the practice life, and the practice life caught you up. It's like in the practice life, I was my father. I wasn't at home. My wife was my wife. Everything needs to be ready when I get home, and I'm bringing in the money, the moolah. So, and when we adopted Liam, that changed a lot. I mean, I started working from home, but then I realized I'm just sitting behind a computer all day. I'm not interacting with my child or anything. I'm becoming my father. And then we broke it. When we moved to Hogsback, we were like, this stops here. All of that nonsense has to stop here. And to do that, we have to change everything. Change how we speak, change our language. Yeah, it has to change. It's like Abraham was Abraham, Jacob became Israel. It's like, I can't stay in that groove.
My motto in life is, in pain is growth. So every painful thing I've ever experienced only made me stronger. It only made my faith stronger. It made everything stronger. Especially the last 5-6 years. Yes, since my dad's farm attack, that was the first. Since the farm attack, was the first big thing.
We're going in.
I mean, we're on holiday for 3 hours with my sister in the pool, and my best friend from high school sends me a Facebook message. Hey, how's your dad doing? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I think you should call your mom. And that was 21 minutes past 9. And since then,
we looked at each other
and we said,
and we were like,
everything is changing now. Nothing will ever be the same. We just became a statistic.
Retrospectively, I understand the words we said in that moment. It's like when you get married and you say yes. Then you said yes, but you don't really know what you said yes for. You're saying yes in time for something that happens outside of time. And then when you look back in time, you're like, oh, that's what that yes was. With the farm attack, it was that. When we said everything changed, looking now where we are and the purpose we're focusing on is everything's different. Even our language.
And 7 months after the farm attack, we adopted Liam. And then in 2018, that was the next big thing after the attack. And then in 2018, on the 22nd of July, we were busy adopting Lyra, the baby girl, and or thinking we're going to adopt her then. And the church's social worker phoned me, or him actually, and she said, we hear you help children. We've got 3 kids. At that time it was 2 little girls, a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. Will you be able to foster them? And that was 12 o'clock, and 3 o'clock we went to pick them up. And they were in our car for 5 minutes, and they called us mom and dad. And this was the this was
too much.
But this was one of the hardest things to do. A lot of
it was 2 months, and it felt like 2 years.
Later on we got the brother also, so we went from 1 to 4 children in less than a month for 2 months. So that was crazy time. I call it spirit juice. You run on spirit juice. So.
We went in deep. It felt like our relationship with God and each other was this, and then suddenly it's this. And we didn't know what to do with the space, because this was us.
And these kids went through so much horrible trauma, and you have to handle that and rehabilitate. And then the system failed us totally, and we had no rights. We were the people who looks after the kids, and they took those kids back to their
Well,
home.
we said no.
Yeah, we said no.
They said
because-
there's nothing you can do, and we said there is something we can do.
We can say no.
no.
Yeah, because
We're still in the process of adopting Liam,
Liam,
and
so-
we saw this was starting to affect him, and
Yeah.
we were fostering them, and we asked them, we can help these children, but give us 2 years.
Yeah,
The
we
parents
need to
shouldn't.
help
We
them
need to build
properly.
them up again.
and they
And
wanted
then the
home
mother started
visits
getting
every
home
week.
visits and visiting
And the little one,
rights
the
and
2-year-old girl, the week before she saw her mom, she chewed off her lips. So every time a home visit handling that, we said we can't handle that. We can't help these children if the system works like that.
And Liam was
So-
already the
Yeah.
naughty boy in school. We were regularly called
He
in.
kept us busy,
Yeah.
so he needed a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But
But after that, we were
After
like,
that-
we're all right now for a
Yeah.
while.
for
So
2
then we
years,
stopped the
yeah.
whole process.
4 years, yeah.
Yeah. And
It's,
then we moved to Hawksback.
yeah.
And I mean, a year when we were here, we started getting that comfort zone feeling where
Yeah.
we're like, well, we were
Then
having a home cell,
cell,
and
yeah.
the lady was like, no, she's planning on adopting another child, and this passion
she's
awakens
single.
in you, and she's single.
Yeah.
And we're,
like,
everybody's
no.
telling her that's maybe not a good idea,
Yeah.
single mother, another
Yeah.
child, and then she told us, but when are you going to do it? And I was like, all of these stories. It's like,
Reasons,
when I
right.
got married, her father told me that. It's like, I told him I want to marry your daughter. It was at a mannekamp, at a Christian mannekamp. And I told him I want to marry your daughter, but I don't have the money to do it now. So I'm going to do it in a few years. And he was like, if you're waiting for resources, you're going to wait the rest of your life. Do it, the resources will come. And when Helen told us, what are you waiting for? With all these resource problems. No, this, no, that's. And then she's, when is it ever the right time to do a good thing? If it's now the right time to do a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's
And
like,
December we started, and 6 months later, now we have her for 2 months already. Yeah, we've been parents of a little girl
Yeah.
for 2 months now.
and then I think we're good for 3 years, and then round 3.
Yeah, then
Yeah.
we can do more.
I made a joke. Maybe it's not one.
Yeah.
I mean, I made a joke.
Well,
and
you
told
made
her,
a joke years ago saying we're going to adopt 12
12.
kids. Well, 9 dogs and
Yeah.
2 kids, we're almost there.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's in short, yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I always think about the writing against the wall, because that picture we had against the wall.
Yeah.
When we came and visited Oxback, we bought ourselves a map. You should show them the map.
Yeah, the map.
The map, and that map was against our vision wall in Bloemfontein
For
when we
years.
stayed in a Meentuis complex.
Before
we
we
looked
knew
at
we were
that,
gonna
and then we're like,
move here.
remember with our verse, remember where you're going,
Yeah,
remember that. And that's such a simple exercise. Even now, we still have stuff against our walls.
Yeah.
It's like this and this, and when we
Always dream.
look at the vision, and we're like, and we take it off and we put a bigger one up,
Yeah.
and then there's that. Yeah, and it happens. It's
Yeah.
amazing. The writing against the wall. Yeah.
And there's
You
no,
see it
when you do that, you don't have a fear of not getting there. I mean, in Oxback, since we moved here, I worked at the crystal shop. What else? I'm a CPF secretary. You know, you're not only one thing.
You worked at a cannabis
Yeah, we have
shop.
more than one talent. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the cannabis shop.
We like serving.
Yeah.
So we, with the dogs, we get most of the stuff we do here, we get trading value, or we either get money from what we do with the dogs here. But the stuff we do off mountain, we get nothing from that. And we need to do that because serving gives us perspective of
Yeah.
what we are. So for us,
Community and serving goes hand in hand for us, because if everybody
for us as
serves-
individuals, no,
Yes,
for
yeah.
me and
Yeah.
we did it in Bloemfontein also.
Wherever
So in
we
Bloemfontein
go,
we served, we didn't
create the community, or we get involved in
the community.
Yeah.
That was
And
what
just-
we were before we moved here.
Yes, yeah.
Moving here just gave us a platform to live it out. It's
Yeah.
like in Bloemfontein we had to
Without the
balance
rush.
the service and community work we did with the works we had.
Yeah.
So the works kept us busy, so we didn't have time to be too much in the community or serve too much.
As
Maybe
much as we wanted to.
as much as you
know.
wanted.
Yeah.
Where here
the
it's
church
open.
gave us the platform, the place to serve, and then we always wished we could do more and change more. Yeah, this is why this is also important for us,
Yeah.
because getting your story out there, if you can help one person out of depression with trauma or what marriage or whatever, that's community.
Yeah,
you
living
know?
a more sustainable life. It's
Yeah.
like things are changing a lot. A lot of pressure is on people. It's like
Yeah.
now
And balance.
we don't feel the pressure as much as it were in Bloemfontein, even though we're getting less income.
Yeah.
It's like the less income stresses.
Most people
Last
have
month
more.
example was one of our lowest
Oh,
months,
yeah.
and it was a test for us because you
Washing
start
machine
freaking out.
broke.
Did we make a mistake?
Yeah,
Shouldn't
you
we
know.
have? Shouldn't? And then you can't ask that questions.
No, you commit.
God send us
Pull
on
it
that
through.
path. You have to believe. You
Yeah.
have to go now. Where in Bloemfontein that was a monthly thing. When it was
Daily.
end of the month,
It was
I stressed out. My hair started falling out. I
becomes red
scratched.
when he has to pay
And I had
salaries.
so much.
Yeah.
We had so much there, but I was more stressed than now. Now I have less. I'm less stressed, even though I'm still partly stressed. But
You're
end
way
of the
more
month, I'm not.
fulfilled.
End of the month, I'm like, let's do it. Invoicing, it's done. Oh, our budget is low. It's all right.
Yeah.
We'll trade more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
We'll
you
figure
know.
it out. Where in Bloemfontein is it like we have to pay off cars and machines
The
and
budget
loans
was
and
perfectly
Yeah.
worked out. Yeah. There was no. Yeah.
yeah.
So the stress is way more. less.
But I must even say here you get, it's the same as in big towns. This gives you a platform to live a community life, but a lot of the people in the community is not part of feeding the community. They sit
Especially
in
the
there
commercial people.
Yeah.
The money makes them run.
like the tourist. Tourist brings in
Tourist brings in
yeah,
the
we
money.
call it. You
Yeah.
can edit this, but I call it the tourism.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the tourists come in and then
And not
they
to
bring
get-
in the
not
money
to sell
and
your soul to that.
yeah.
Because that is the fight in the community at this stage. Because the lodges or places or restaurants are having these huge festivals. And are we becoming that, or are we staying and keeping Ox back?
Yes.
And are we
We're fighting
keeping
that struggle
it
of not being
beautiful and
commercialized.
The right reason to
That's
come
good.
here.
It's
yeah.
not becoming Clarence. A lady that bought pallets from us the other day, and she's a hermit. She's like, this is an example of you can come to Oxpack and not be part of the community. We haven't met her ever. But she says she never comes out. That's why she moved here, just to stay in her little. So a lot of people is like that.
Lockdown
And
was easy in Oxford.
she said it's already too much commercialized. She said she wants to move to Transkei. It's too much already here.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
maybe
I think
today
they
is,
people are timing the snow.
Only,
It's like,
only
yeah.
start moving outside here by 10. Not us though. The dogs wake us up early.
Yeah.
But it's very calm. You only open your business at 10, 11.
Yeah.
It's very...
And we have shop times, but it's
Yeah.
more guidelines than times.
Yeah.
Most of the people tell us, "Are you home?" It's
I'm
like,
on my way.
Yeah, people are, we didn't see boards of your shop. It's like, no, it's a word of
Oxford
mouth.
style,
It's like
you
if you
know.
don't, because our main,
That was my
our
prayer,
the
yeah.
biggest thing we told ourselves when you came here is, don't become part of the tourism. Don't become dependent on that money, because we could have taken that rondavel and made it ready, and
Bed and
we could make
breakfast
4,000 to 5,000 rand a weekend just from people staying there. But now that's where we're drawing our money. So that's the seed we're getting that we have to plant, and it's dependent on a tourist facility. We're more into the eco nature. Yeah, this is a beautiful place. It should stay a place like that.
It should be a place of revival,
Yeah.
you know,
And-
where you can come
yeah.
and revive your soul and
Yes,
spend time in nature and just be close to God.
and where you
Because I
can
always
raise your
say-
children.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
Liam climbs that tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's
Yeah.
going on.
I mean, he had a few neurological problems that showed as ADHD, because when he was in the orphanage, he didn't crawl and sit, and none of that stuff really happened on time. He was the baby in the orphanage, so he was always picked up,
Up,
you know,
yeah.
spoiled. And since we moved here, I mean, all of those problems.
Yeah.
were
Tell a
gone.
story. In Bloemfontein, we put him in a school,
Yes.
and he was the naughty
And
boy.
they
But the
said
classes
if
were
we don't
20
put
to
him on
25.
Ritalin, we must take him out of the school.
Yeah, so it was Ritalin or
So-
out. Then we took him out and put him in a special school.
with autistic and
Even though he
special
wasn't, he
children.
was diagnosed with ADHD,
But
and
I'm
we weren't
thankful
willing
for
to
that,
give him
because
medication. But
now Liam doesn't see disabilities. He
Yeah.
sees a friend, a child.
yes,
And
and it
that
went better. He was up
way
to class
better.
leader.
That school was amazing.
And now when we moved to Hoxback, it's like those stuff isn't even problems
No.
anymore. It's
we're
like
teaching him
we're
ourselves,
schooling
and
him
you
ourselves.
don't see any struggles, nothing
Yeah.
at all. So yeah, he's grown a lot, and it's good for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's not in the school system. Liam doesn't do well with that. He's like his mommy there.
My first was definitely, I tried to commit suicide twice, and 2010 and 2012. And then Billy really didn't know what to do with me because I didn't want to live. And he sent me to a drug rehab for 6 months, where I was the only legal druggie. There were 60 people. All
Explain legal.
Legal means prescription medication. So I was on
medication, but she abused legal medication.
Yes, I was a dependent on them. I couldn't go without them, and it was a lot of medication, and I still wanted to die, so it wasn't working. So I needed to change something. And in this place, with all these druggies, beautiful people, by the way, on a cement floor, one morning on praise and worship, I gave my life to the Lord. And that was for me that total surrender, because we struggled 9 years to have children. And the struggle with infertility is, it takes you everywhere. From I lost my faith, or not lost my faith, but I almost hated God, because why me? Why us? What did I do wrong? So when I gave my life to the Lord, it was the first step. So that was major. And then I would also say the second thing is my dad's farm attack, because I always prayed for faith. I never trusted the Lord fully, and I never had faith. And the second evening after the attack, we were lying in my parents' room on a mattress sleeping. My mom was with my dad in the hospital, and it was only me and Billy on the farm, and fear overtook me. I mean, it overtook everything. I was going to lose my mind. There was nothing. It's just these flashes of constant fear in your brain. Nothing makes sense. Your body is shaking. It feels like you're going to collapse. And that evening I just shouted, and I threw that fear, and I said, Jesus, take it. Take it. I can't handle this. And he took it instantly. Manifested immediately. I slept that evening, and since then, faith, the Spirit gives you faith in the measure that you need it, yeah. And now faith is, there's no fear and there's only faith.
Oh, it's like we're walking
so
on
that
water
is
now.
Yes. So
just as soon as you think you've
surrendering,
got it, then it's deeper.
Yeah.
And then,
you know, that total surrender, those 2 moments of total surrender to God was my 2 biggest moments. And that faith only grew because 7 months later we adopted our child, which was one of the reasons, of one of the big things in our life, not being able to have children. And it made having children easier. Having faith in going through the adoption process, because that's a different process in its own, also stressful and worry and all of that.
Yeah.
Busy with the rooster.
They
Shepherding the rooster.
The chickens, and then I leave the chickens.
Oh, sure.
There we go.
Oh, free-range chickens. We had a free-range budgie, actually. The only people that we know. Yeah, she flies, and then you call her.
We refused to cut her wings.
Yeah.
Everybody told you have to cut her wings. And we're like, no.
And
there's no faith in that.
I think,
the bird's in the cage. The bird has to fly.
Yeah, her and Liam had an amazing relationship. So she called him Wee Wee. Then in the morning when she wakes up and he's not awake, she's, Wee Wee, Wee Wee, Wee Wee. Until you take the budgie, put her next to him on the pillow. She's quiet. And then she sits there till he wakes up.
And then they're out.
Yeah. Okay, and for you?
Yeah, for me, big moments. 2010, Angus Bacham, when I gave my heart to Mighty Men, because I had a problem with my father, and the thing that stood out when I gave my heart to Jesus was there's a lot of teachers, but there's not a lot of fathers and mothers anymore, you know. It's like getting back to where being a father in the house is actually an important role.
Yes.
And then with your father's struggling, your suicides was
for you.
Yeah, I questioned myself a lot as a husband. It's like, am I good enough for you? Is it maybe me? Because the suicide started after we were married. So that immediately the thoughts come up, then is it me? So I had a lot of questions about me as a husband. You know, am I fulfilling the need my wife needs? So a lot of spiritual growth happened there. And then 2018, when I struggled with porn problems for years, and I came out with it, just like God pushed me in a corner, and I usually have this relationship with him where I'm struggling a little bit. Not now, maybe later. And over the years, he's like shown me, it's like, when is the right time to do a good thing? And he pushed me into a corner and told me, listen, you can't do these things anymore. Not even think about them.
And it was perfect
them.
because that was the May that he started dealing, or almost dealt with it. And the September, we fostered those two little girls.
That was in abusive relationships. So I had to handle that. He had me in a corner, and we came out, and I just came out with it. I just told everyone once. Everyone was like, "What?
We don't speak about that."
Went to church leaders, and they're like,
"We struggle also with that. So sorry, we can't help.
Make a group.
All men
make a group," and then you started, and then I realized, okay, nobody's handling this topic. So that stood out for me. Also, that was a big moment. And then your dad's farm attack just like broke through our cultural walls. It's like we grew up very racist, very racist. In high school, it was like frowned upon. It was hectic. I don't want to even speak it because I don't want to reincarnate it. We don't use that language anymore.
Our children doesn't know any of the racist words. None.
And after her dad's farm attack, it was like 180 degrees. It was like turn around. Now we have to do it. So we are very adamant about it. It's like when we're in a room where there's a lot of people that looks and talks like us, we're uncomfortable. It's like it's too much the same. It's like even some of the people we see now, especially English-speaking people, I speak Xhosa to them. It's like when I speak Xhosa to them, then they have to speak Xhosa back. It's like, why aren't you speaking English, or why aren't you speaking Afrikaans? It's because it's old languages. It's our language has to change.
Also, a big thing for me, especially with our children, is I had a vision in 2012. I don't get a lot of visions, but I had one where God showed me how South Africa is going to burn. Not physically, but the government, South Africa is going to burn to the ground. You know, the systems and all of that. And South Africa is the most diverse country in the world. And we are going to be that place that shows the world what unity is, what love is, what community is, you know. And with God, there's no color, there's no race, there's no culture. When we fill in forms, and they ask what's your culture, we fill in other.
It's like there's
we don't have a culture because with God there's no culture. There's a God culture.
Kingdom culture.
Yeah, there's a kingdom culture. There's a God culture. But
we believe in
showing. He doesn't always show off what the changes, but I like that. I like telling people this is change because it needs to happen, you know.
I was thinking about it this morning when we were gonna have the interview. So from yesterday we had emotional challenges because we knew this was coming, you know, words matter.
Our marriage is our strongest thing, and he challenged our marriage.
But the thing that stood out for me when I went walking with the dogs this morning is like when I was walking with the dogs, I didn't have to say anything. It's like then I wish some people would just walk with you and just have an experience. It's like when you have an experience, everything changes. When you use words, it takes time, it needs to get there, and that's what I love about our work now. It's when you're busy working with an aggressive dog, there's no time to talk to him about it.
We sometimes when we go and work with the dog, half an hour later, we only greet the humans. Hello. Because we're so busy with,
There's power in doing.
There's
power in doing. Living the ways we did, you know, we were just not complaining. we were having spiritual blocks. That was indoctrination from our parents regarding religion, not relationship, like relationship with God. We don't have a religion, we have a relationship with God. But we had a religion, and we had all of these color boundaries and all of these cultural boundaries that didn't allow us to interact with different people from different places. But we're living in this country where that's a possibility, and we had to move away from that. It's like Oxback is a very cultural diverse place. It's like we're even though there's not a lot of Christians here, we're more accepted here than in our own place where there is a lot of Christians.
Just like Jesus.
Yeah, it was, and that's the strange thing for me.
That you would think that your own culture, your own people would accept you easier, but
when we go, so when we had like we still have a hippie face. We live in Oxback, but when a hippie feeling.
Yeah.
So when we go and visit like our sisters or her sister or my sister, then they hide us away.
They're ashamed
We're
of
at
us.
home.
Yeah.
And
you know.
And if we have to go and visit her dad on the farm now, we would never go out or meet their friends or even with Liam they didn't even have friends over. So you know that's where we
for me
said
in
no.
that moment it was a clear cut to what I believed since a child. You know, I've never been a racist in my heart, never. In high school it broke me when you saw what was being done. You kept quiet, which I feel made me part of it. But in that moment, you had the choice to go and think, I hate these. For me, it was, I hate these 5 guys. I hope they catch them. I hope, all of that. It was a decision between the hate and the hurt and what is going to come of this. And am I going to make something better of this if my dad survives? Or am I going to be broken by this and learn to hate something else again?
And
something
I mean,
different again.
He was a good guy that wasn't, he had racist speech and he had racist habits, but he wasn't necessarily
He was never
full-on racist.
No,
I had friends that
never,
was like that.
Never.
And
No, my
he
dad
wasn't
was
that.
never.
He was actually a good part of the community, and
He's
a
an
lot
easy
of
target.
him changed when he gave his heart to Jesus.
Yeah.
But he was still in that attack. And we were just like, it's not enough to change a little. You have to change it.
You can't
Clean
go
slate.
back into your own ways again, especially the community, because the language, you have to hate them, they have to kill them, The people, my dad has to get guns.
I
and,
get angry.
It's like, no, it made me sad because, you get angry. You, like, yesterday,
But then we fostered children, which was on the other side, that horrific things were done to them, and they get away with it because they're privileged. And then suddenly you realize it's not necessarily a skin thing. I think you're only seeing what you want to see and using your privilege to get away with most of the same stuff. Yeah, and that was like
no, that was
we
it was a clear
couldn't
decision.
we couldn't
You
live
can't.
that anymore and look at that anymore and just accept it.
And even after being in CRC, you're living the truth, you're living love. You can't go back. You can't.
Yeah, I can see us going back to that. I don't even reckon if I have to think when I was on high school, even at university, even in Bloemfontein. I'm not that person anymore.
So we have this one Indian friend, and she has a Boer Afrikaans boyfriend, and she told him about us, and he was like,
because
he has to come and visit us because what she's telling
he
doesn't
warned
make
us.
sense.
So they knew we were Afrikaans because we came from Bloemfontein. We had a strong Afrikaans accent.
Yeah.
And then when she said she's taking us to Afrikaans people for a bride, and he's like, do you know Afrikaans people? They're rigid. You don't come there and tell them hello.
Yeah.
They're going to start. And when he came here, he was just like, poof, it was nothing that he expected. We
mind-blown.
didn't even
He's
speak
like, you
Afrikaans.
guys,
It's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of when you have those experiences, then you realize, okay, we've changed some.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
we've
but
changed
also
some.
my
Yeah.
culture is not connected to my language. That I've realized.
Yeah.
Because we love our Afrikaans.
Yeah, we love
our
it. It's
language.
lekker speaking it. Yeah.
But yeah, you don't want to connect it with a culture or a set of ways that we don't enjoy anymore.
I have a relationship with Jesus. I belong to Him. I gave my heart to Him, and every day I live so that it's more of Him and less of me. You know, that I'm more, and that's important. That's like a cornerstone in our relationship and in our lives. I think the important thing for us in our relationship is Jesus, is God. It's when we started dating, her father used to take me on mannekampe, and they also had marriage camps. So we used to go to marriage camps. So there was a lot of Jesus in our relationship before we even gave our lives to Him. So, and that's carried us through most of our things. So, I mean, on a day-to-day basis, we wake up and then there's praise and worship playing in our house the rest of the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have more time for God here. That I can say. And together.
Yeah.
It's like...
And for me, it's especially encountering someone that does not believe in Jesus, that definitely challenged me to talk about Jesus in a way that I don't offend or chase someone away. Because someone actually were very angry at me the one day because in my house, because she was busy with soul retrieving. So she says in traumas in your life, your soul get lost.
Yeah, breaks up in bits and then you need to retrieve it.
Yeah, so you need to go get your soul back. And when I started talking scripture, and I'm like, but Jesus came for that, you know. And she was super offended, and she was
got up
and
she walked out of our house, and we haven't. So, we see her in town, but yes. She's like, "Don't talk Jesus to me."
So like, now, right. For me, that religious view of not just talking it, because in Bloem it was easy. We were involved in CRC, so we had a lot of religious people or spiritual people believing in the same thing as you around us. Where here you have to live it.
Yeah, you have to show it.
Live it and show
with
Jesus.
With the dogs, it's nice. I like living out my religion through the dogs, because if you get somebody with, this dog is aggressive, this is a problem, it's like we don't know, and you walk in there and you don't say a word and the problem's just gone. It's like they can't deny that. If you give them an experience, they can't deny that experience they just have. You don't. They know we followers of Jesus because that's the speech we use, but we rarely convince them to do it. But when they see
you don't want to convert them, you know? It's
when they see our fruits, it's like you can't deny it. You're looking at it. You're looking at it,
and especially sharing your testimony, because then people are like, "Oh, Gigi, but how did you get over this?" And all I can say is, "My Lord, my King, my Jesus." You know, so religious views. Yeah, the Trinity is very important. Yeah.
For us, and teaching our children that.
But definitely more spiritual in Oxback, because there's more balance. So, and the nature is around you, so you're always spiritually more connected. The Spirit's around.
Yeah. What I like about here is that table there at the back. That's like our confidence room. It's like most of the days, if we're not doing something, we're sitting behind that table, looking each other in the eyes and talking word. Where in Bloemfontein, we didn't have that. It's like I was on the computer or at work, and then we had to make time for each other. Where
1 hour a week.
It's like 1 hour a week. Here, the whole day, you're looking each other in the eye.
Sometimes we have private days where the whole day he goes and does his thing, and I do
we need a break
thing.
from each other. When we see we get irritated with each other, it's like.
And another thing is, we realize that not a lot of people, as I don't want to say it boastfully like that, but we've worked hard on our marriage. 14 years we've dealt with stuff. We went on marriage camps, we've sought guidance, we've went to a sex therapist. You know, we've always been working on we want a good marriage. And not a lot of people do as much together as we do. And not a lot of people want to do everything with their husband, but that's that helps with your spiritual and your religious views, because there's always someone to bounce back what you read in the Bible this morning.
A big thing that we learned on the marriage counseling, not marriage counseling, marriage camps, is the pastor that spoke to us said, everybody thinks when you're married, you're like, I'm married now.
Yeah,
like when you're married, you got accepted to do the degree.
Yeah.
It's like when you married, that's when the work starts.
Yeah.
So they taught us to have spiritual goals in your marriage.
Yes.
And we kept hold on to that. It's like when we get spiritually lax, we're like, we need to set new goals. Where are we going with our relationship? And with the adoption, we started getting spiritual books on adoption. And it's like, okay, now we have to read this book together. So now our time is how to work with adoption children and how do we spiritually grow in that. So that was an important thing for us, putting up goals in our relation, not only relationship goals, but because our relationship is so strong with also God in our relationship, we need spiritual goals. Yeah.
Yes, always.
So adoption was the last option. I never wanted to adopt, not never, but we struggled for 9 years, and then we took a break for 2 years, and we just, it was hard, on our marriage, on my depression that I suffered with that time. It only contributed to the suicide, and then a month after my dad's farm attack, I remember it so clearly in January, we were sitting on our couch in Bloemfontein, and Billy's like, let's have a baby. And I'm like, yeah, really?
Yeah,
what do you think we've been doing for 11 years,
like,
really?
No. Adoption.
And he's like, let's adopt a child. And when we do something, we fully commit, and we do our research, and we totally commit. We see it through. And 7 months later, we got Liam. So Liam was 2 years, 2 months when we adopted him. And he was in the orphanage for those first 2 years.
She worked in the baby house a lot before that, so that kind of inspired going rather the adoption route. There's a lot of people without fathers and mothers, and give somebody a father and mother by being one. And we grew up with a lot of people living in our home, like, die oom en tannie is arm, die kind bly nou by ons. Dis nou jou boetie. And it's like, okay, it's our brother now. So it was normal for us having. So the adoption, when we started doing the adoption, I was like, why wasn't this our first thought? Because it came so natural, and it was so easy doing that rather than having our own children.
People say now getting pregnant is easy. Someone said it last week to me, and I said, no, not for me. For me, adoption is way easier.
Yeah.
Because, and a lot of people always say, but don't you want to have your own child? Don't you want to be pregnant? I've always had that since we married, there was this mommy hole. I call it my mommy hole. This hole inside of me. And I knew only a child could fill that hole. And the miracle about that hole is the social worker actually pushed a photo of Liam across the table and said, I know you want a baby girl, but there's this 2-year-old boy. And in that instant, that hole was filled up. And I knew this is my child.
When we saw the picture, we were like, sold. It's like, no, go and think about it. There's nothing to think about.
And
it's like we committed before that.
I deny wanting to have my own biological child. But only God gave me, and it's only God that gave me that peace. I really don't have any urge to have a physical baby. I'm actually happy I can't, because if I see what women's bodies go through, it's like, no, I don't want to be pregnant.
Yeah, it's hectic.
So, we found peace in adoption. Adoption is, and the stats, the year Liam was adopted, there were 2.3 million children in the system. and 2,200 were adopted that year. 0.1%. That's this year's stats too.
That's a lot of children growing up without homes, fathers, mothers. It's
A lot.
If you want to, there's one guy said, if you want to be a real man, then
Adopt.
raise other people's children.
Yeah.
It's like that. Raising your own children is like hard.
Because
But
you know your
it's-
own nonsense in your child.
Yeah.
You see your own
Yeah.
faults in your own child. But I call it the surprise package. Because we don't have the same
They
genes.
say
He
Yeah.
does something, and then I'm like, it's the surprise
They
package.
say you have two surprises when you adopt a child. The one is that you realize this child has none of your characteristics. So everything you condition is conditioned to do comes from you, but there's the
nature.
genetic. And then when the
Nurture.
children, if you have the privilege of them meeting their original parents again, that's like your second present. Because then you see where they would have been and what you've done to help him.
For me, that is important. The biological parents are very, very important for me, because if they went for an abortion, I mean, I wouldn't have been a mom. So I'm thankful for the decision of Liam's tummy mommy. We call it tummy mommy because tummy mommy and daddy, and a heart mommy and daddy.
Yeah.
Because it's the truth, and he knows it.
He knows he's not from us, but God
we
chose
chose
us
him.
for him.
Yes,
We're his
and-
parents.
Yes, and we chose him.
Yeah, we chose him.
Yeah. So adoption is easy.
Yeah. And now with the second baby around and the books we've worked through, it's like we started to get an affinity for it. And it feels right. It feels like one of the purposes in our marriage.
Yes.
Besides our marriage,
A dream.
rearing children feels natural for me now. It didn't used to. I was children.
Babies cry.
I'm alright with
when
enough.
They saw him, and they
Yeah,
scream.
I'm alright with not having children. And then
Yeah.
when I saw the longing in her heart for having a child, and then going through that process of struggling to get one, it's going to work this time. No, it doesn't work, and then you're down in the dumps and
Spend $1 million trying to
spend a
fall
lot of
pregnant,
money
and-
to fall pregnant.
And
We-
only the third chance, you have a 33% chance. And faith was there, every time you believed it, but it just wasn't our path, and that's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I like my path.
For me, it felt like a quick journey. It was. I know it was long. It took us 9 years.
Yeah.
But it's like a decision I don't think a lot anymore about. It's like
It's very distant. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost we're not even those people anymore. For me, it was intense.
Yeah.
We are the oldest in the family on both sides, and we're the last to have children.
Yeah.
And
we also,
every time you go to this small farm town, people know you're struggling and you can't have children. When's the baby coming?
aren't you gonna have a baby?
Aren't you
It's
going to
like,
have a baby?
yeah,
Why
we're
is it taking you so
trying.
long, And then the hormones, and I've got
And
grade 4 endometriosis.
And going through the process of, okay, is the problem me or is the
Is
problem you?
Yeah.
And then, okay, we have to find out, but you're also afraid to find out, because what if it's me? And
Then
what
it's
if
my
it's you?
fault.
Then
Yeah.
now it's your fault and my fault. And
So the problem was never with him. He's got strong swimmers. The problem was with me, with the grade 4 endometriosis, and I had PCOS, and I was raped by a high school boyfriend for years. So that was also a part of the reason I could not fall pregnant. And there's a few reasons I can't even remember, But operations, so the grade 4 endometriosis, they will do a laparoscopy, and that it's an operation. Your body goes through a lot of things, and then it's the Fertimed, which is
hormones
to make you more fertile, and nothing was ever enough. My body was never enough. I think it was never enough, but. Not having your own personal body, because when you struggle, you need doctors to be able to help you, and it's a very uncomfortable space for a woman. It's very.
I think the biggest challenges for me was like Dick Jacobus Breitenbach, Dick Jacobus Breitenbach,
Yes,
Dick Jacobus
the family had
Breitenbach,
a lot
broken.
of pressure on
It
having
was
a
like
boy and
now
a name.
there was these things inside me. I don't have my own lineage, and it's not my blood, and then you started asking questions about what's that all about now?
Yeah.
The blood stuff, and genetics.
Are
And
you binding your
Yeah,
own
I
children
had
to
to-
your blood?
I had to
bloedskuld?
I had to
Or-
break a lot of barriers regarding that, and letting go of that it's all right to not have a child from me. Our relationship doesn't allow
It's not
that,
less. Yeah.
but it's I choose you over any child.
Yeah.
Any of our own children. That's
Yeah,
what I was
biological.
trying to say. Biological,
Thank
yeah. So, and the thoughts came up. It's like, but what if it was another woman?
Yeah.
And then the thing I remind myself in is like, you said yes, that's not an option.
Yes.
So, and just reinforcing that thought. It's like, when we go through it, she'd have the struggles of, why my body? Why God?
why
My body?
me?
Why me?
What did I
Where
do
for
wrong?
me it was an ego struggle of, okay, what if it's a no? So I want my own, and and I had to stop those. I had to tell myself, you don't go there down that path. It's not an option.
Yeah.
You said yes, this is your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's peace in handling that.
Yeah.
It still comes up sometimes.
Yes.
I mean,
For
it still
you,
comes
yeah.
up for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now it's like, nah, dude,
Yeah.
gotta adopt another child. It's
Yeah.
not worth it.
Yeah. The adoption. But the adoption was a process in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Liam's process was, we did it through ENGO, which is the old NG Church welfare. They've got the old age home and the
So it's part
orphanages and
private,
stuff.
part
Not
church,
governmental.
not
church,
governmental. Yeah.
And the most intense thing is when you don't have a social worker that actually wants to help people. With his adoption, it felt like they wanted to find a fault with us. They were looking for a fault. It was a 12,000 rand psych evaluation. 7 months after, no,
That
2
was
months
intense.
after my dad's farm
Like-
attack, where you answer 1,500 questions on how good will you cope as a parent.
Yeah. How was your
And
relationship?
then-
Like the same
then
questions.
2
Yeah.
hours
How was your relationship with your father?
interview.
No, it wasn't good. Okay. So you want to be a father?
Yes.
Then it's like, oh snap.
That was
You
the
know,
worst.
then-
Billy never swears. And that afternoon when I got him, he was crying and he says, if anybody ever questions that I'm
Yeah,
not a good
can I
parent,
be a father?
I'm
You
gonna
want to
shove
show
these
them that
papers in their
papers.
face.
Listen, we did it.
No biological parent, a teenager that accidentally falls pregnant, not accidentally, but falls pregnant, don't have to go through that. So that was
The process was
sucky.
intense, but it also gave us worth in
taught.
ourselves that we're actually not bad parents
Yes.
beforehand.
Yeah.
Going through that I think that's part of the process also, is trying not to make you doubt, but trying to question weak spots.
Yes,
Because,
where you can improve on,
Going into the adoption, like the process is intense and it's not easy going through it. You would think it would be easier adopting a child because children need home. It's not like that. They have to
no.
fit you with the right child, and
The matching process is very interesting. They literally match you on intellectual level, height, length,
Yeah.
weight.
do you want a kid with a
illnesses,
disability? Don't you want a kid with a disability?
Yeah, that's
Male,
very strange,
female?
the application forms where you can literally choose. Yeah. You choose what you really want. Not like in America where you do window shopping.
Yeah.
It doesn't work in South Africa like
we
that.
want this child, and okay, let's do
Yeah.
the process, and there you go with the child. Here it's like, no,
Yeah.
you go through the process and then we choose a child for you.
The
Yeah.
two things that is quite irritating is the governmental part of the thing. And with Lyra's adoption, that was, for me, it took me back into a very bad depression spot. The police clearance. So it's not the normal fingerprint quickly it has to be sent away, and it usually takes 3 months. And we paid for a courier, so we phoned the place, everything, we planned everything. And the courier shows up with only his papers. So where is mine? No, we'll send it through the post office. The SA post office doesn't really exist anymore, so now I have to start this process over. So I was broken and beaten down.
Yeah, we always called it there.
Yeah.
She messaged the social worker, this isn't going to work.
Yeah,
we need to stop the
literally-
process. And she didn't consult with me on that.
Yeah,
and I was like,
very...
are we not doing it now?
Yeah,
It's
we
like,
didn't talk about it. What is happening?
Yeah.
And then Sinai, actually, my best friend, she made me realize that was February, end of February. She said when I was in that depressive state about this not working out, and I'm believing so hard, she's like, maybe she's not born yet. And she wasn't born yet. She was born on the 23rd of February. So, yeah, it had to wait. Everything works out perfectly every time.
But you go through emotional phases, I think, like you would in a pregnancy. It's
Yeah,
like as soon as you make that decision, we're going to adopt,
Yeah.
then challenges pop up. Then you know, she's very emotional and hormonal, even though she doesn't have
Not
a
pregnant,
child. And
yeah.
I'm handling a lot of father issue stuffs. And so there's like a period of adoption pregnancy period where since you say yes till you get the child, you feel something's up, something's going to
Definitely
change
wondering
now.
and thinking about. And with Lira, it was because we're not in our old community or the old cultural ways anymore. I had a day or two where I was like, what if someone looks at me strange or gives me a horrible comment? Because I've gotten those with Liam. I've got heavy racist comments.
Yeah. You just laugh
people
at it.
just say whatever they want to. It's actually very scary.
It's way less here.
Yeah, and it's way less here. And I had one day where I thought with Lira, if I get that question, how am I going to react? And I would react way different. The previous time I would just walk away, so I don't have anything to say. But now I will talk to that person's heart, and I will show them what love is, So, yeah, it's normal parent questions. Because then I think this is the adoption question. Yes, there are thoughts and questions and stuff that is not biological. And luckily in Bloemfontein we had an amazing community who helped us. It's Adoptia. It's a group of almost 50 parents, 50 people.
That adopts and
Only
fosters
adopted
on a
children.
regular basis, yeah.
So there you would go and ask, what if my child asks about his tummy, mommy and daddy? Because the first time Liam asked me, I was like, I'm not going to tell you anything. No, just shrug it off. But you can't, because that's a lie.
Yeah, it has to be
And
age
that has
appropriate.
helped a lot. But if I talk to biological moms and dads and I'm going through something like she's got sleep regression at 3.5 months, full asleep, but she's doing this, it's not an adoption thing. You go through the same
Yeah, everybody
things
goes through
as
that thing, yeah.
any
So
other
there is a
parent would.
distinction.
Yeah, but it's
When
not,
you're with them and they don't know your child, well, now they know the child's adopted, but when they don't know, it's like it's just kids and parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes the adoption comes up where, especially with Liam, going through that rejection of his. Why didn't my tummy mommy want me? So this isn't questions a
He
normal
hasn't
kid
asked
will
it
ask
yet,
you.
but he is
Yeah.
going to ask that because he spoke yesterday to Lira and he told her, he's like, Sissy, jou maagie mama wou jou nie hê nie. So, not in sadness or nothing. He just says, jou maagie mama wou jou nie hê nie, maar ons wil jou hê. So for him that makes sense and it's the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's special cases of.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen a lot, but
Yeah,
definitely he's clever enough to ask the questions. And then I just let the spirit guide me and just, not let the emotion take over because in a sad way, you always know this is not my biological child and my child had to go through this. So he has to think about why did they give me away?
Yeah,
Where
we're still young in it. Teenage years coming up. Interesting questions.
No, he's
But
a good boy.
he's a good boy.
We're too strict for him to go.
We
off the
saw
path.
we saw a lot of friends that was adopted beforehand and
Yeah.
people that was adopted and asked them how was the process
Give us
for you
advice
before
on-
we adopted
Yeah.
Liam. And the thing that stood out for us was from the beginning tell him the truth.
Don't lie.
Because if you tell him, no, you lie around it, you don't tell him he's adopted, then when they're older and that question's going to come up,
As
then
an adult,
you lie. My whole life through, you lied to me.
So my biological
And
parents
that-
rejected me, and
you
rejected me,
lied to me.
which is basically
Yeah.
rejection. Yeah.
And so for us, it was important doing truth from the beginning and working around that rather than trying to cover it up. And then when he's ready one day, we'll tell him.
Yeah,
It's
no.
like, no.
Mm-mm.
So,
So with Liam, there was only
Yeah.
the psych evaluation that was that expensive.
but you
I
get
can't
three-
remember other.
you get three setups. You
Yeah.
get the government setup, which is
That's
going to cost you
child
nothing,
welfare.
but it might be intense and it might take forever.
Take way longer.
Then you get semi-private, which is governmental. That
Ingo,
may
the
cost you
church.
some. You
Yeah.
may have to pay your own doctor's fees and your own psychological fees, but they will cover the rest of the cost. And then you will go private like we did with Lira. But I mean, private costs is going to be everything between 15 to 30,000 rand. And
that's
most
not a
of that
lot.
money goes to help the mother work
I
through
think
the
3,000
process.
or 4,000
So-
goes for therapy for the biological mum, so which is amazing.
and they help her pay, Lira's mom is studying, so they help her pay some of her studies. And so
And then
you
we
think
had
it's a lot
to-
of money, but when the social worker explains to you where this is actually going, then you're like, and it's way cheaper
I think there
than
are
IVF and
agencies-
anyway, so it's not a lot of, it's not a lot
I think
of
there
money.
are agencies, especially in Gauteng. I mean, I've heard people paying 200, 300,000 rand
Sure.
at a private agency, and I think that is not necessary. But that usually comes when, it's difficult when you want a white child, because the white children in South Africa there aren't a lot of to be adopted or in the system, and those who are in the system of the white parents use a lot of drugs. There's a lot of disabilities, drug disabilities in the children then, where in the African cultures it's not that severe. So it's way easier to get a multiracial child or a African child than if you're stuck to only one race.
That's
Then it
actually
might
a question
take
they ask you, which irritated me a lot.
Yeah.
What color child do you want? And then like, the color question again. It's like,
And it was difficult because Billy
Yeah.
hates using color or words like that. And so I asked my one closer friend, what would be the appropriate word to use? And she said African, because it's, or closer baby, because that's the truth,
Yeah. But I think if you want to adopt, it's go to a social worker.
Phone-
Support locally, that sounds
Yes,
yeah, that's
yeah,
cool.
support
Support locally.
locally.
If you want a Chinese baby, then it's gonna cost you a lot of
That's-
money.
Yeah,
It's
or
like,
know somebody. Like our process with Lira started is we have a friend that adopted a baby privately, and we asked her social worker's number, and her social worker
Gave us-
retired
yeah.
and gave us her best friend, who is also 70 years old, also actually supposed to be retired, and she helped us.
Yeah, so get a social worker. Private, it's gonna cost you a little bit more.
So budget,
But
and
I like
plan,
that process. The social worker told us it's not a lot of money, and if you are not willing to can pay this money, then you might ask the question: can you take care of a
Can you
child?
provide for
Can
the
you
child?
provide for a child?
Yeah.
Because 15 to 30,000 rand, it sounds a lot, but if you are able to budget and save, and you know how to work with your
Few
finances,
months,
it's
then
not that much.
yeah.
Yeah, 200,000 is like no.
Or
You have to-
80,000.
Yeah.
Then you can go through a IVF or insemination.
Yeah,
again,
or you
know.
can go through the government. You can
Yeah.
rather go through a government
Child
setup.
welfare.
Child
because I
welfare,
think
yeah.
the most children are,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fostering is a good thing to do initially,
To prepare.
to prepare you.
Yeah.
Even if it's fostering for a month or 2 or 3 months, just help out here. That's going to give you like a hands-on course of, okay, are we really ready for this? Yeah.
And speaking to people who were adopted and visiting orphanages,
Yeah.
because we don't know a lot about orphans. People don't know. And,
Yeah. Homework. With
legally,
with Liam it's a closed adoption. With
adoption.
foster it's open,
Yeah.
so anything can happen. There's options that the parents can come.
So
But
just to
with
explain the difference between closed and open, those are your two different types of adoptions you get. Open adoption is, for instance, if you know somebody and they fall pregnant and they just need parental support, like fostering
And
basically.
financial support.
And financial,
then the kid will stay with you, but they still have contact with
and
the
you
parents.
pay, and you
That's
basically
an open
yeah.
adoption. Yeah. With fostering, it's always open, so there's not
mean,
closed fostering.
The goal of fostering is after 2 years, the parents must be rehabilitated and so
able
that
to
children
take care.
can be. That's the goal. You always want children with their
go
own
back to the
family,
families,
you
yeah.
know. But
with a closed adoption, it's still
the parents
until the
literally
child is
signed-
18, the parents don't really
have
have
no-
legal rights to
yeah.
approach the kid
or
without
the
our
kid,
consent.
The parents, yeah.
Yeah.
A closed adoption means that both biological parents signed their children off, basically, or gave permission.
But when he's 18, he can
yes,
still
he has legal
search
right
for
to
them.
go. We
prefer that
feel-
because it gives us time.
yeah,
It gives us
It's
18
scary.
years to work with
It's
the child, to
scary, you
invest
know.
in his emotional stability. But I mean, if Liam is 12 and
And he
he's mature
asks,
enough and he
we'll
wants
do
to,
it.
I can't deny
You
him
can't
that.
deny him,
So it's
yeah.
a closed adoption, but
But
yeah, it's just guidelines.
we can't be locked up doing that. But I would feel if he's at a psychological and emotional stage where that will give him comfort, I will definitely look up his mom and dad and try to find them. And yeah.
Go through the process with him. Yeah.
They don't give you all the information. With him, the social worker didn't even read his report to us, so we don't know a lot about his dad. With Lyra, we'll still hear the full report, but we've got more information to give her, and that's bad for me because I feel that they have to tell you not everything. You know, you don't have to know his height and his length and all of that, his weight and whatever, the dad. But there's some things that he's going to ask, and if I don't have questions, how am I going to help him? If I don't have answers, how am I going to help him? So with her, we've got way more information. But yeah, it's a difficult discernment to decide what to tell your child when, because it has to be age appropriate, you know. Yeah, there's some things about his biological parents he won't necessarily understand now. So he doesn't. But I only tell him when he asks questions.
The first
3
question
or
was
4.
like the
Yeah.
mummy and heart, tummy and mummy. The
What
story
was
we
his
used to tell
question?
him was like there was a
child psychologist.
mama and Papa
suggested
Bokkie,
it.
and the mama and Papa Bokkie couldn't have their own
So they were
baby.
sad.
So they were looking for a baby, and then Mama and Papa Bokkie went to Bethlehem, and they found a little Bokkie there that Dad didn't have. That was the first story
And
we
they
told
were
him, and he
happy.
told the story, and he was happy with that. That
It's
makes sense
important
then,
for them
yeah.
to tell their own story.
But
Yeah.
then when the question came up, okay, you're not my real mom and dad, and then that knocked us.
Yeah.
Especially Gigi, it was like, not your real dad.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Regte
Why are you
mama.
using the word
Yeah.
real? Real means I'm here,
Yeah.
so I am your real dad. You just didn't come from me. And then just changing that language he uses.
Yeah.
I must say, when the thoughts come up about what challenges we might face, I just pray about it and believe that God will give me the
Wisdom.
faith, wisdom, and
We can ask for
yeah.
wisdom.
When I try and think of all the challenges we might face, then that comes up when parents come and visit, or we go
Yeah.
out and we meet people that we see give us a look.
Yeah, when we do
You know,
something.
And
Yeah.
then when I think about those scenarios, I get angry. It frustrates me. So I don't try and think about it.
Okay.
I try and take it day to day.
Now I feel like a normal parent. My children, there's no issues. With Liam, for me, it was heavy. It was 7 months after my dad's farm attack, so I was raw PTSD. Lost my memory the last five years, 2011 to 2016. No memory of that. And my short-term memory didn't work. That's what trauma does to the amygdala. It literally shuts down your brain. And So I wasn't functioning optimally. But emotionally, it was way more than I expected, because I actually had PAD, post-adoption depression, like baby blues, and it was horrible. It is. Moms don't share those thoughts because they're so horrible, but I think more moms with baby blues should share, not just with baby blues, in general, share their true feelings, because you never act on it. You will never do that to your child, but you like, you want to almost kill him. It's horrible. You don't want to know the things you think. And it was literally a year after we adopted him. 11 July is the date. And for that whole year, I crucified myself. I hated myself, because for 9 years I waited for this child, and now I don't feel anything. I don't feel any, cuddling, connection. I just want him to go. And I didn't speak about it, because when I did actually speak about it, I was judged intensely.
Yeah. In the relationship, there's safe space for speaking to that.
Yeah,
like
you saw my emotions, you saw my frustrations, you saw the
initially
battle.
When she said, I don't want this child, I want him gone, I was like, oh snap. Well,
it's a bit late now for that.
But as we grew in our relationship, I learned like this is a safe space where she's allowed to say stuff like that without me judging it.
What you say
Listen
is
to
not
her.
what you mean, it's what you feel most of the time. So I would tell him, I feel this.
Not before
so
she says
it's not.
It's a feeling.
Truth,
it's
I'm
not.
Gonna act.
She's not going to act on it. In the beginning, it was when
but
she said it. I was like, yeah, great lights, act,
Ooh,
boy, act. Where now, when she says, this is what I feel, then I'm chill. Then I'm like, listen what she says. Yes. Okay, it's cool. It's cool. She feels that. I'll check in tomorrow if you feel better. Tomorrow she's like, no, I feel way better. And I'm like, chill. But in the beginning, it's I make plans. I cut her off. I take the children. I sort the stuff out. And then it's for 3 weeks we're fighting because I'm not listening to her heart.
No. But that, after a year, that got better. I think the other day we read a psychological book, and it actually made sense. Where a toddler at 2 years, it's difficult to bond with a toddler, because that's the age where mommy's going to the bathroom, you must stay outside, the door is closed. So where rejection, not rejection, but boundaries, physical and emotional boundaries are set.
Before that age, they have full access to you. After that age, you start with the disciplining process.
So the
no, don't touch that.
It's supposed
don't
to be
do
less
that.
with a toddler. And now we adopted a toddler, and now I have to bond with this toddler.
In
and
a phase where
to reject him. So that was very difficult. It makes sense now. But with Liam it was crazy. We hit the ground running from day one.
Yeah, we wanted the plan was a baby, and then we got a 2-year-old.
Yeah,
so that
we
was
did
not the
have
plan.
Anything. We had a lot of baby stuff, but we had nothing toddlerish.
That was in the deep water. Swim.
But since he became 5, 6, it's way easier. But that's just normal with any child. You know, they get easier when they get older.
The next act out of him was when we adopted her. But I mean, that wasn't long.
That's normal, you know. A week of...
not necessarily jealous of her.
No, not at all.
But he acted out. He got naughty. In the beginning, it was him, and moving here, it was all our attention was on him. It was not like we're busy with him the whole time, but we're aware of him because we've got 4 eyes knowing where he is. So we constantly know where Liam is. And with her, it's like, Daddy, come and check here. It's like, I don't have time. I'm busy with the baby now. So now it's like, okay.
So
and then he walks off and then he's naughty.
He's naughty.
Yeah, so and we don't pick it up because we're busy with her. Yeah, so I think it's him getting used to... I'm glad we did it. Because he has freedom now from us.
Yes.
And he needs to find himself in it. And currently it's been more being naughty because he has the opportunity of being naughty now.
He's
and teaching him that has consequences. It's like God sent us on your way to keep you on the right
right
way,
path,
so that
you
you hit the
know.
mark.
Yeah.
If you're going off mark, I'm going to tell you, listen, Buti, you're off mark now.
And
That's my job. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm your father. I can't just leave you. And you'll be all right.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
No,
It's
won't.
like, no, he won't
life
be
is
fine.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Stress
adoption
and-
book where also that says you must take care. You're going to have an emotional
Yeah.
free fall.
Downfall, yeah, free
So when you're going through the process, it's like choo, 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 choo.
The
And then when
focus
you
and
get the
ready.
kick, you're like, then it's that high. And then after that high, there's always a, oh
Reality
snap.
hits
I was
you.
sitting when we had Liam, I was sitting and we were older. I mean, how old were we?
When we adopted him.
Yeah, 33, 34,
17. That is 5.
32, 33.
34.
But I mean, we were
Yeah,
older, so,
32.
and for 9 years we struggled, so we were used to our space. It's like we can get in the
Sure.
car and go to Clarence,
Freedom.
and we had a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there and I saw Liam and this kid and this bouncing energy, and I was like, what do I do with all of this? And in that moment, I realized this is the rest of your life now. It's like that kid you're seeing there is going to be part of the rest of your life.
I think that
And
contributes to baby blues, that big shock.
that was an
especially
intense
if
feeling. It was like,
It's
oh
here now,
snap.
and this is my life, you know, there's
Yeah.
no turning back.
No, this is that.
And
It's-
can I handle it? Because you don't think you can handle it. You're always doubting yourself as a parent. Am I too strict? Am I too lenient? Am I giving him too much love, or am I giving him too little? There's always that question in your mind.
I think that's a characteristic of a good parent.
Yeah.
Is you're always asking yourself, did I do this? Yeah.
Too much or too little?
Yeah. If you're like, no, I've got it. It's like I did the right thing.
Then
I think then
something's
some
gonna
things
happen.
you did something wrong. It's like you must always run that fine line between you could have. Yeah. That's important. It's like
And
a little
not
boy.
giving up.
Yeah.
Because parents, I see, give up easily. A child will be pushing boundaries on in a certain area, and they just like, okay, whatever, do what you want to. But
Break. Yeah.
You need to. A tree needs to be bent while it's small. Yeah.
No. Think about it.
Yeah, you think
Comes
about
up. It's
Yeah.
like when we not necessarily with the kids and the adoption.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's a lot like but if I have to explain the relationship, it's like my marriage. It's like thoughts of regretting marrying Gigi. I haven't had that in years. Maybe the first 2 or 3 years of our marriage.
Yeah,
But I mean,
okay.
now it's like I don't
I
think.
married the wrong one.
With them, it was easy being married to get rid of those regrets. It's like, how would our life have been without Liam? I think I didn't even think that ever before. Maybe you have. But
Yeah, I thought about it, but legally you have 3 months to actually give back the baby, decide if you want the child or not. But I mean, who does that? I couldn't do it, no matter what feelings I had. I mean, if I had to get help, I would have gotten help to get over whatever I was dealing with because of the child. Your child's important. You can't just give it back.
yeah, I think our faith kind of set us in. There's people that give them back, and
Yeah,
I
actually
can't
saw
judge
it.
them because
no.
I can see how you can
It's
get to that
difficult.
point.
Yeah.
But for
Kids
us, it
are
wasn't.
insane.
Not making it an option made it easier for us. Yeah. Regrets moving from where we were to
A
here.
few times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
lot.
we've thought about
Yeah,
it.
a lot,
Did we
like
make a mistake?
Last month, when you get
last month.
tips and you're like,
Yeah.
oh shit, now I have a family and now I have to make this work. So
We
those
just adopted an
a
extra
lot of
baby,
those
or
regrets come
extra
up.
child, another, not
Yeah.
extra, another child.
But
And
that's once again that provision regrets.
Provision,
And when there's always provision for the vision.
yeah,
So when I start doubting if there's going to be provision, then I've got a vision problem.
Yes.
Then I'm like, what's against your wall?
for me it's faith.
You're looking down.
Yeah.
You have to look up again. Put something so that you look up and it will come. You
For
can't.
me it's faith.
yeah.
How can why do I doubt? Because God has never let me down. We've had way worse months, way worse. And we always survived. No, we never slept hungry. He has always provided.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we're going somewhere with it. I don't know what the big picture is. I got a vision where I like closed my eyes. I was in church praise and worshiping, and it was like this tree growing, like on the earth. But I could felt the groaning of the tree as it grows. And this morning while I was showering, I was like, I know what that groaning sounds like. It's like when we cry over frustration with Liam, and when we cry through that cry is a groaning cry. It's like a groaning cry.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like,
Yeah,
I
we will never stop.
think we can live it. I think South Africa is an amazing place. I think it's the best place to be in now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes to be made, like the way we speak, but we're a multicultural place. We have amazing potential. I think it's been under slavery for long, and we can see it changing.
We
So
have a
for
big
us,
dream
it's
for South Africa.
yeah.
Definitely.
Long term, I would say it's like imagine a country that doesn't have children without homes. It's like
No
imagine a
poverty.
country where a lady can take care of the children, and the community will take care of the children, and when you're on a better foot, and where that's a normal thing, where we don't have stats like there's so many children in our country without homes.
Abuse
Yeah.
and gender-based violence.
Yeah.
And we have a big dream to be the example of change in South
Yeah.
Africa. That is a big dream of ours too.
I won't
Never
go as
stop.
far as say as we're the ones that can do. Well, we're not the ones doing this in any way. God is.
No, yeah.
But I mean, it's a nice vision to have. It's a nice vision to have there and say, what if this is possible? And then, because
My dream is for more people to adopt. I really dream that. I've seen so many women, so many couples struggling. I mean, people divorcing because they can't. One has a problem, so they divorce. Because the other one wants children. And adoption it's not that hard. It's possible. Yeah.
But
and
for-
dreams for us and for our children, whatever the Lord brings on our path for them. If we have dreams for them, I don't have a dream for Liam like he's going to be a cricket player or I want him to play rugby. I never put any expectations on my child because he is who he is.
Yeah.
And I can only support and help him grow in that.
Yeah. There's principles we would like him to have, like being humble
Respect.
and having respect.
Yeah.
But to say he's going to be a doctor or
A
an
dream.
architect.
The only
or
dream I have for my children is that they know Jesus. That's And for our life, the dreams will never stop.
No, we're going
Bigger and
So the
bigger.
mountain we have to
Crazies, we are
stay
the
on has to
crazies.
be higher than this one. That's the only thing I know.
The Alps or Everest.
It has to be up, yeah. It has to be
We're
up.
climbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not trying. Yeah.
No,
If it comes, it would be a blessing.
but
It would be amazing blessing.
it's
but-
not an emptiness anymore.
Yeah. And it's not a goal. It's not something we're aiming at. It's like
No.
it's something in the background now where we are at in our life.
Yeah.
I think that's the situation we're in. So
Yeah.
we might speak to people that can understand it. But in the adoption group, we met people that had their own children that also adopted.
Yeah.
So I think it shouldn't be limited to people that just couldn't
No.
have children. That's a good
No.
option if the God
if
puts
you
it in
look
your
at
way.
the
But I
physical
mean,
side of it, Sarah Grace, she said the other day that her pregnancy was so bad. She was nauseous and sick a whole 9 months. The labor was bad. It wasn't a good experience for her. And she says the next baby they're going to adopt, they finished in claw. They don't want to go through that again. Where I know mothers that loves to be pregnant. So, but I think a lot of people that I've spoken to about our adoption, they also said that maybe biological, because it costs money and it's in the hospital, is not their way to go. They would adopt.
yeah.
But it's...
And we've spoken to a few people that said, yes, I would like to adopt a 9-year-old, or I would like to adopt a
A teenager. Some people love teenagers for some weird
Yeah.
reason.
And I mean, the one guy that said he would like to adopt a 9-year-old, he has, 3 or 4 of his
3
own children.
grandkids, yeah.
So if you can take that experience you have with children and then give if
in
it's
adoption,
on
you're
your heart
never
to do
too
that,
old too old to adopt. I think people that are older are going to get it way easier because you're settled and so adoption is open for anybody.
Yeah.
And if I fall pregnant, then yay.
We're gonna keep on going at it.
Yeah. I'll have a.
I know when the time comes where we're like, we need to adopt another child, then it's once again gonna be provision regrets. Do we have enough? And do we have,
that's
you go through that.
And the ladies on the mountain all have what do they call them? Hut births. They've got a doula, and in a hut, in a bath, they give birth. Most of the babies are born like that on the mountain. Nobody has medical aids here or we don't have a doctor, so natural,
Not that I can think of. You're actually very good at getting
Yeah,
people to talk.
Yeah. Never talk this. I talk a lot, but never about myself this much.
I'm trying to think about something, but I can't. I think it's difficult to put that in words, and you see it when people visit you that has barriers on. Well, barriers we don't have. It's just our perspective. But when you show it to them, when they have that experience of, well, this has actually happened, then that changes a lot. But I think the only thing for me is, like, Jesus is the cornerstone and rock of everything we do. That's the foundation, and everything else changes constantly. It's like we're not living 30 years back or in an apartheid era, or that we're living now here.
There's
in
a world out there
multicultural
that is different from your little world that you are confined in.
And changing your culture doesn't change,
You.
for me, it doesn't change who I am.
Yeah.
It changing my culture. So when you learn a different language, you ask a lot of questions about your own language, because now you're using your own language as the dictionary to learn this language. But then you realize this word used in this language doesn't mean this. Why are you using this word? So climbing out of the culture gave us perspectives on the culture, and that it needed to change. But it's constantly changing.
if I would see my dad now with my kids, I don't think I would say anything. I would just give them and just feel the love, because if you have a little baby in your arms, there's no differences. How can you not love? How can you? It's all about love, If you see people and everything through the eyes of Jesus, then whatever differences you see, you'll keep quiet about it. But what I would say to people like that is just love, I would just love on them. Because being angry doesn't help. It puts up a bigger boundary. So you'll never get through to their hearts. But I don't judge them. I don't avoid you because you believe differently from me. I will not shush you if you talk about. I will, if you use racist language, I will tell you, please, not in front of my children.
Or
not in front
we'll
of
just
me.
walk away.
Yeah, so.
Like we don't need that.
Yeah, but
different isn't necessarily bad.
No.
Different is different. It's
And
not
it's
bad
okay.
or good.
Yeah.
It's
What do I say always to him? My crazy loves your crazy, We're different, but it works. If it works for you, if your culture, if your way of thinking works for you, and you grow spiritually, yay. But if it takes you into a worse place, I think you have to change something.
I think for us also, we like the outlier setup. It's like we feel comfortable there, but we know
being different.
It's hard being there. You're kind of like on the outside.
Get a lot of comments but then you get a lot of people that that's why Hoxback is. I love my village because everybody loves us. We are weird, but everybody here is weird, you know. So it's everybody just loves your
when we
you
came here, we were like, these Hoxback people, they're so weird. And then after a while, I stopped saying it because I told her we are also the Hoxback.
Yeah.
If we weren't weird, we wouldn't be staying here. So we're staying here, and it's all right.
In Bloemfontein, if someone knew Liam was adopted. Oh, you are these amazing people. Oh, you've got a special place in heaven. I don't like hearing that. I don't want to be praised just because I adopted a child. You know, I don't need to be made.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a thing. It's for us. It's normal. That's normal.
Thank you for that comment, and thank you. But here it's okay. It's normal. Oh, you got a baby. Yay, happy you got a baby. There's no strings attached, you know. Everybody's so happy. There were some people freaking out just to meet her. Literally dived in front of the car. I need to see the baby. Strangers, I heard from this lady you adopted a Xhosa baby. I need to see the baby. So they're happy with us about the adoption. You don't have to select who you tell about.
Or hide it.
Or hide it.
Or hide it.
Yeah, and lie about it.
Yeah. If I have to use like a short sentence or paragraph, I would say it's gonna be hard. Like it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
But the best things in life is hard.
Yeah.
It's like
the biggest. It's like
it's not
living
easy.
in Hoxback.
It's like
getting in Hoxback, getting to paradise shouldn't be easy. Good. The best things comes with the hardest.
With a little
work.
bit of grit.
Yeah. But
so I think
adoption is not impossible, and there's really nothing to be afraid of to stop you from doing that. Just connect with groups. There's Facebook. Get an adoption group. Go to find out where there's people that you can talk to. Yeah. And
I think the important keys is your belief system and your relationship with your partner, because that's the things that's going to be tested, and it's going to be tested rigorously. But it's so much. It's worth it. I mean, we're better off because of it.
Yes.
Yeah, and yes, it's hard.
It's stronger.
Not. Yeah, it's not. When it's like that praise you get when you go out and somebody's like, "Have you adopted your angels?" Your angels. And then I'm like, why are we angels? Because we adopted. It feels so strange when somebody, and when we talk to a lot of adoptive parents, it's like it's normal for us. It's not, we're not angels. But I can understand the point of view, and you tend to forget that it is actually hard. When for us it's normal, we're in it and we don't feel like angels, but it's difficult for me to say why people say that. I think because it is hard. It is tough.
Well, for any parent, biological or adoptive, parenting is tough. It's raising some other soul to be better than you. But it's not impossible, and with God, everything is possible. Yeah,
it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah. Supporting network. That's what got tested a lot with us. With Liam's adoption, they asked us, "Who's your supporting network?" And it's like, "We've got this. My parents, your parents."
My parents,
and then when we were in the process, that supporting network fell apart. It's like it was hectic.
We did it on our own. Yeah.
We did it on our own, and then with Lira, it was like the community is our supporting network now, because we know
people brought clothes. I think we bought 4 outfits for her since now.
Yeah, we didn't bought bottles. We got bottles. We got trolleys. We got everything. It's like and we got.
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Yeah.
Especially from your community. People will amaze you sometimes. Yeah.
There's always someone that wants to help, even though you think you don't deserve it.
Or they won't understand.
Yeah.
I think that's the flip side for us, when you get people that they throw in a racist comment, or they throw in like use old words, and then you're like, this guy. And then that guy would surprise you. It's like God works in amazing ways. It's like that guy will never be part of our lives. And then you see the guy again and you're like, this guy's in church. how did this happen?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So sometimes
Don't judge.
you put people out for a time span, but I don't think you can like not make them part of your life forever. I don't think that's your choice to make. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, my bum is sore.
Well, thank you guys. Yeah.
Yes, you guys drove to Hawks back.